Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in opposition to this bill. While I admire the intent of the bill to address issues relating to loan sharks, I believe the bill is flawed in many ways. The amendment to Section 118 amends the definition of oppressiveness. I would first of all question whether a legislative change of this sort is needed. As the Minister has already alluded to, it already contains the word unconscionable. Surely if any debtor could prove that the lender knew they couldn't repay, a court would accept the conduct as unconscionable. The onus would be satisfied if the lender asked for proof of income. But that's the easy part. Any lender can ask for bank statements, pay records, or any other proof of income. But in the real world, the ability to repay a loan has as much more to do with your expenses as your income, sir. This is the point. At the end of the day, a lender can only judge the ability of a debtor to repay based on what the debtor chooses to disclose of their expenses. Borrowers are likely to say whatever it takes to obtain a loan, and this clause does not remedy this. The bill also seeks to regulate interest rates and requires the Governor of the Reserve Bank to provide them. In Canada, Section 347 of the Federal Crimes Act criminalised interest rates charged in excess of 60%. Since then, the federal government has had to change that law to exclude payday lenders. Mr. Speaker, a 48% interest rate on a payday loan for $1,000 over 2 weeks is $18.40. $18.40. No one will do business on those types of terms at that rate. Her answer might be, Mr. Speaker, that they can charge fees. Well, Mr. Speaker, that's the next problem with this clause. Caps on interest rate alone don't cap the cost of borrowing funds. That's why fees are regulated along with interest rates in Singapore. Fees are completely prohibited in Hong Kong, and her bill has no prohibition on fees, and therefore her interest cap is completely ineffective. This bill doesn't propose a realistic or a workable solution. This is an important issue that needs to be looked at in the forthcoming review. The third change is to repeal Section 57.2 of the Second-Hand Dealers and Pawnbrokers Act. Mr. Speaker, in the explanatory note to this bill, the claim is made that if fees can be charged, there will be no need to charge high interest rates. Well, it goes against her concerns about the total cost of borrowing. Why would allowing more fees to be charged lower the total cost of borrowing? It will simply spread the total cost of borrowing between interest and fees. You see, it's very clear, Mr. Speaker, from legislation elsewhere, if you want to effectively cap the cost of borrowing, you either cap interest and ban fees, you cap the total cost of borrowing by regulating fees and interest, or you cap the total cost of borrowing, not just the interest. In this bill, in one clause, Ms Beaumont proposes we cap interest and let lenders charge whatever fees they wish, and in another clause, she wants to allow fees where they are currently prohibited. This is clearly an ad hoc and confused approach to legislation. Mr. Speaker, in my electorate office in Maungakiekie, we have seen the effects of these loans on our constituents. In fact, in my meetings with many budget agencies like Salvation Army and other budget services, I have discovered that the problems are more far-reaching than this bill will address. Sir, it's what this bill does not contain that is disturbing. I have a problem with dragnet clauses which allow a moneylender to grab everything in a borrower's home and come back for more and more. There are real problems with moneylenders being able to send in repo men to take away children's beds, bedding, clothing and toys. I have issues with the fact that a car dealer needs a certificate to sell cars but needs nothing to finance the sale. There are problems with the fact that a pawnbroker can loan money against property they hold, needs a licence, but a lender who loans money against security not held needs nothing. Most countries that legislate in this area for good reason have a licensing regime. This needs to be looked at seriously in the upcoming review. Mr. Speaker, the problems I've alluded to have no political party slant. It's not about the left and the right. It's about what's right and what's wrong. For this, we need better law than we have today and a much better bill to go to Select Committee. The member says it's time for action, and I agree. What